What's up, y'all? Welcome to day 5 of the Road to Rediscovery series, where we are really just taking time to um, chat about what it's like to transition in your career and in your purpose. And yeah, that is what I've been taking the last couple days to do. And it's day 5, y'all. And on day 7, we have an exciting announcement. But yeah, if you're new to my channel, my name is Kiara J. Mason. I am a wife to Jared, a mother to River and Levi. I get to be on the best church staff ever at Transformation Church. I also own the best business ever alongside my husband called Made to Maximize. And I've honestly transitioned careers so many times, done so many different things, and I recognize that there are some key principles, some key steps, and some recurring cycles that I went through in order to navigate the seasons of transition over and over and over. So if you get a chance, go back and watch day 1 till now. I must say my favorite one so far has been day 4, which is where we talked about that pivotal point when you know that something's different and I think it's time to transition, and how do you navigate that season. That is one of, it doesn't always feel like the favorite stage, but I guess it's one of my favorite stages to talk about because I've been in seasons where that pivotal point is a long season where it's years, and then there are times where it's like, man, I sense it's about to shift, something is about to change here, and it changes weeks later. So I've just kind of seen the full gamut of like waiting in a lot of regards, um as it pertains to knowing that it's time to pivot. So yeah, I won't walk you through the whole entire thing. We have an amazing service tonight, so want to prepare for that. However, I want to get into step 5. Step 5 is separating your work from your identity. And I am the poster child of confusing the two. Confusing the two. Why? Because oftentimes we may feel like the work of our hands are an expression of who we are. And in some sense, yes, but not necessarily. I remember one time when I was in creative poetry group, and we would have to come up together to create a spoken word piece as a group, write it together, all agree to it, and then we would each say our individual parts. I never, the whole time I fought it because I'm like, I don't see myself as a poet. I really don't identify as that. But here I am. I guess I have some kind of writing abilities. And so I'm contributing in this manner. Maybe I'm a creative writer. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I just don't identify. But nonetheless, whenever we would be in writing sessions, we might throw out a line, or I'll throw out a line and it's whack. And I'm like, it's all right. I got more ideas, because I had to separate the shame of, oh, they don't like that line. Oh, that was kind of whack. Or, if I keep throwing out these kind of lines, are they going to think that this is all I have? And so I remember that session where I was like, oh, it's all right. I got more lines. And it was just a way to separate the fact that there was this creative expression and there were ideas that could flow through me, but I wasn't the sum total of the work that I did, if that makes sense. So right before step 5 is that pivotal point where you recognize that, okay, it is time to transition. For some people, it is a job. You recognize that I can't stay here forever. I don't want to be here forever. I don't like where I am. And for other people, it may be serving in a particular place. I transitioned out of a ministry that I served for 11 years. And I knew that it was time to transition for 4 years, and we did not move until those 4 years were up. And so I know what it's like to be in that point, but in this pivotal point, you're just wondering, like, okay, well, I know that it's time to leave. I know that I sense a shift. I just don't know when exactly I'm going to leave, and how should I manage this season. And what I shared in that previous video was basically making sure you stay committed to that season, walking in integrity, and you allow God to complete the work that He started in you. Because the best thing you can do is end well, transition well. Don't burn any bridges, you guys. Promise you, you're going to need those same people moving forward. So after you recognize that, I feel like I'm shifting. Something is new. I'm seeing my life differently. I'm seeing possibilities in a new way. That is when you have to kind of get into that disassociation phase where you are separating your work from my identity, especially if you are someone who is moving to a new industry, a new career, a new space. Um, a part of you and a part of your story has largely included the work of your hands and the things that you've done up until that point. So for me, before I went into marketing, my identity, I am a social worker. I don't do social work. I am a social worker, you know? Um, and it was just interesting in the field as a social worker. It was just a big part. We just took a lot of pride, and I don't fault our industry doing that because not a lot of people knew exactly what we did, and we did a lot of tough work in communities and with individuals and groups and what have you, policy changes, all those different things. So there was a sense of pride in the degree that I had gotten in the field that I was in, but now God is saying, hey, but I don't want you to be known for that. And I'm like, but that's all I know of me. You're telling me that you're trying to redefine who I am and what I do? I'm not sure. I can't, just can't compute right now. Like, I just don't get that. You mean I won't be doing this forever? You mean that there is different from me? You mean that you see something different from me? That was a lot to disassociate. And it's not that it wasn't, not that I needed to erase that part of my story. I just didn't know that it was simply a step in my journey. And that's what I want you to see for your life, that you are literally going through chapters in your book and that you are only on chapter 4 out of, 105. You have a lot of chapters to go. And a lot of times we want to camp out in one chapter because we think that this is the end all, as if chapter 4 is going to last for 104 years, as if this will be the end. Like, this is the pinnacle, the peak, the top of what you could be. And sometimes that is a roadblock for people. They're like, well, I'm doing the things I want to do. Um, I love what I do. Why would I disassociate myself from that? Why would I change my career? And so you will have those feelings of ambivalence. Like, okay, I know that I don't love my season. I know that I feel like it's time to change. But at the same time, I maybe I love this. Maybe this is all I know. Maybe I'm just too comfortable to even conceive the idea of life can be different and I would be doing something different. So that's what I went through as it pertained to going from social work to marketing. I'm like, God, I don't even have a degree in marketing. And this was before I went through the stages of recognizing I needed training and immersing myself in a community that would foster this new identity and this new space that I was going into. Um, but before then, I'm just like, I I just can't see myself doing this. And for a long time, I did not. There was a course that my husband and I were going to take, and we decided that, one of us was going to take the course. But he was working in full time sales at the time. And I'm like, well, if you're working in full time sales, that means I have to be the one that takes the course. And I just is not interested. It's not what I want to do. But it was what the Lord asked of us in this season. And I was the one who had the availability to take that course, and that course would be how we catapulted and like help build our business and help us understand marketing even the more. And I took the course and it took me a while, and I had an attitude while I was taking it. What is that? Step 2, you need training. And so I had an attitude while I needed training, but at the same time I needed to immerse myself in this new thing. I knew it was time to change, but I needed to disassociate myself from thinking I could only be a social worker. I can only counsel people. I can only do group therapy. I can only do work in the community space. That's the only place that I can make an impact. And how limiting is that, to think that this is the sum total of your life and this is all you can do? Really, what God was doing me a favor, enlarging my territory and letting me know that this isn't the only space that you can make impact. And what if He's asking you the same thing? He's asking you to take off that hat, whether it's nursing or construction work, or maybe you're leaving marketing, going into ministry, whatever it may be. Maybe he's asking you to take off that hat because it's limiting you, not him, but he can't do the work through you because you have this mental block on. There's a scripture that says he's able to do exceeding, Ephesians 3:20, he's able to do exceeding abundantly above all that we can ask or think according to the power that works in us. But if we don't allow the power to work in us, we won't see the exceeding abundantly. And so it was until I leaned into the idea of I don't have to just be a social worker. I am multifaceted. I am multi-passionate. I am proud of that. That is who God created me to be. That's when I was able to see the fruit in my life. That's when I was able to see us go and create content and strategy plans for business owners. I had never done that before, but I was going into a new space, a new territory because I took the limits off of myself. So that is what I want you all to do in this season. Is not separating, in other terms, another way of saying it is recognizing that there is your character versus your creative expression. Your character is the essence of who you are. Who you are, you're funny. You like dry humor. You are compassionate. You are considerate. You are those things, but your creative expression of how you do the work that you do may look different in different times. And so, for example, I remember um, one of the mandates that the Lord declared over my life is that I set order to chaos, right? And so recognizing that that's not a specific career, first of all. So the creative expression of that came out in different ways. So the creative expression of that came in different ways throughout the course of my career. And I remember when it was time to transition yet again in my role and what I did. And I was so frustrated and I was so mad. And my husband was like, "Is it chaotic over there still?" And I was like, "No." "Did you provide structure over there?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "So why do you need to be there if you said order to chaos? Now you need to be sent to a new place that doesn't have structure, that needs infrastructure, it needs building, it needs you to pioneer and be apostolic and build X, Y, and Z. That's why you're being sent, because part of your purpose is to bring structure and order to things that are chaotic. So, grief, that's fine. You're going to miss what you used to do. But at the same time, this is very much so on brand for your assignment, and it's kind of going back to that step one of like knowing who you are. And when you know who you are, it helps you throughout every single step. Because it's like, oh, you're right. Even though my role and my function or the creative expression of what I do is changing, this is still a core value, core piece of who I am and what God has sent me to do in the earth at large. So yeah. Um the last thing I want to say is that when I say you have to separate your work from your identity and like you are not the work of your hands, it means that um I want to clarify and say that you are not the artwork that you do. So, like, there's somebody who created this keyboard. Are they the keyboard? No. They may have made like a first draft version of this keyboard, but they are not this keyboard. This was an extension of something that they created out of their hands. Can they create and build more things and get more wisdom to do it? Absolutely. So you have to look at the things that you do and know that, oh, that's just a function. That's just a thing that I do. It's a creative expression of what I do, but it is not an extension of who I am. Now, biblically, we go to this side. There's scriptures that talk about, and especially in Matthew 7, like, you shall know them by their fruit. And so I want you to know that your fruit is love, joy, peace, patience, perseverance, long suffering, all of those different things. That is your fruit. And we will know each other as believers by our fruit. That is a spiritual work on the inside of us, not necessarily the works of our hands, because you can pray, prophesy, heal the sick, raise the dead, and all those different things. But those are acts of faith. It's not a reflection of fruit in your life. you were able to do a thing, but it doesn't necessarily define who you are. And do you know how many people mocked God, and even how this was the plagues during that time? They would try to mock and do an expression of like miracles that Jesus did, or that God was doing during that time in the Old Testament. But do you know where their power and their works derived from? Not God. And so, like, just because you can do a thing doesn't necessarily mean that it's the fruit of who you are. Your fruit is that spiritual component. So I wanted to make sure that we understood that your fruit is your character, and people will know you by your character. You can't dance around that. You can't work around that. Um, but when it comes to like a paper that you do, a creative design that you do, um, a video that you craft, or what have you, strategy plan that you make, you are not that strategy plan. You are not that graphic that you make. You are you. You are who God created you to be. You express yourself in different ways, but you are not that. So we have to just unwrap our identity out of these spaces, or else we will crash and burn if we think that all I could ever be is a social worker. You will limit yourself, and you'll be quite disappointed because you had the propensity and the potential to be so much more. However, you settle in a comfortable place. So, yes, that is what I have today, you all, for the road to rediscovery, separating what you do from who you are, your work from your work identity. That is step 5 of the process when you're going to a place of rediscovering who you are. You're going to get to that point where you recognize, if God is changing me, God is shifting me, God is transforming me, and I don't have to be this person I always thought that I was. So I pray this bless you. Please share it with a friend. Share it in the comment section. If you made it this far, let me know how this may have impacted you. But yes, I love you guys so much. We got 2 more days, and I have a special announcement. So I can't wait to see you soon. Bye.